Welcome back to Path to Glory, the Warhammer Underworlds podcast that focuses on competitive gaming, player development, and community growth. This episode was made possible by our patrons. Thanks to everyone who supports us. If you are interested in supporting the podcast monetarily, please check us out at patreon.com/Path to Glory. If that's not possible, we still appreciate the listen and the ratings. This is Aman Khusro, and as always, I am joined by my reaping co-host, Jonathan Davis.
Hello, hello, hello. Just reaped
What's been
some
up?
Thai food today. That was the tithe.
That was the tithe. I had a tithe as well. I had Thai food for lunch.
Mm.
I had the Panang curry.
Oh.
That was fire. It's become my favorite lately. It used to be red, now it's Penang. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm feeling a bit under the weather.
Oh.
I've been sick for 4 days, and it is still going on. So
I was sick Saturday. I don't know if it was just allergies, but if it was, it hit me like a truck. So
yeah, I feel like there's something going around. But like, I took last Thursday and Friday off, and then I woke up Friday morning sick. So instead of enjoying my long weekend,
yeah.
I've just been like laying in bed watching All or Nothing on Amazon Prime, which is like it follows a sports team throughout a season. If you are a like Premier League fan, you should definitely check out the Man City one. That's really good. And then I'm halfway through the Tottenham Hotspurs one. That one
So is it
is,
different sports?
yeah, there's football as well.
Oh.
Um, there's like international teams as well. Um, and then there was a cricket one, but I think it's under a different name. It's for like the Indian Premier League,
Hmm.
which is like the Premier League of cricket, if you will. So
Yeah. Yeah. We
it's pretty cool.
we watched Halston, which is about a fashion designer. So very
Oh, is
different.
that the one with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan
Yeah.
McGregor?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
good?
I thought it was pretty good. Like he did a very good job. I don't know if I needed to be like 5 episodes, but
Yeah, I heard it was
it
like a
was.
limited series.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I'm
yeah.
glad that Ewan McGregor,
So
Ewan
one of those.
McGregor, Ewan. I think it's Ewan.
Yeah,
Um, English people can correct me. I'm glad he's like kind of getting back out there, and
yeah.
he's gonna come up in the new Obi-Wan show. Hayden Christensen's coming back too. That's kind of cool.
That's
Everybody can hate
interesting.
on him some more. I really liked him, but
Yeah,
I never understood the hate.
I don't think this is very popular, but I liked episode one, so I don't know.
I liked Darth Maul.
Yeah, I was also like what 10 years old when it came out,
Yeah.
so like it
Fun
was cool.
fact. Yeah, fun fact. The main character of episode 1 technically is Jar Jar Binks because he has the most screen time.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's probably the main area of complaint there. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's hard to beat like pod racing and the final fight scene. So, you know,
Yeah. I think everyone liked 3. And I
yeah,
think when I was younger I liked 2, and then I rewatched it like last year and I was like this is a challenge.
yeah,
Regardless.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it's all George Lucas's fault. Um we will get into the Underworlds side of things now.
yeah.
Jonathan, do you want to tell everyone what we'll be covering in this episode?
Yeah, today we're going to cover the newly announced and previewed Kanan's Reaper's Warband. Games Workshop just put them up on Warhammer Community today, so we're going to go over that. You'll get our first impressions, and that's what we're going to do. And then we are also going to announce the rules for the giveaway contest that we're doing. Why don't you tell us what the requirement's going to be this time, Amon?
Yeah. So obviously, can't have a warband release without us doing a contest for our patrons.
Yeah.
Fun way to say thank you. As always, we will be, giving you a full warband, or at least the dollar amount for the warband is, and if we can't physically send you a copy. So this one is going to be centered around a freestyle. So we're gonna go ahead and ask you to come up with at least 4 sentences of a a wrap pretty much that has to do with Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Feel free to take inspiration from the Warband, their names, the mechanics, the names of the cards, maybe rules within the game. We're not gonna like judge it very critically. I think we just want to have some fun, and the winner will be read in a live reading on the next episode. So,
Yeah, very fun.
or at least the next episode after the deadline, which should be the end of this month. Did we have a winner for the last one? By the way, have we not picked one yet?
We have all the entries. We actually still need to go through those and announce that. So that
Right.
should be in the next day or so as well.
Okay, we'll do
For
that later today.
the Mad Mob.
Yeah, yeah. Feel free to have fun with it. Keep it PG though, just
Yeah.
because we do have other patrons that are underage, or at least their kids listen. So that's
Yeah.
important.
We just want a
But
PG rap for these bone guys. I feel like these guys probably rap. That seems like it would make sense.
I feel like Binar Kenta has bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like literally, he's holding a bar in his hand. But aside from that, he's got bars.
Cool.
All right. flew over the head, that one. In today's episode, as Jonathan mentioned, we're going to be covering the Kainan's Reapers Warband, so their fighters, objectives, gambits, upgrades, and we'll share some thoughts on how we think we would best play them. So the
Yeah.
article we will be referencing today is on Warhammer Community, and it's called Kainan's Reapers Look Pretty Scary, but these cards make them truly terrifying. So if you're not familiar, the Warband consists of 6 fighters. There are 5, I guess, Morteks, which are like line troopers for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and then Mir Kainan, which I think we mentioned what kind of fighter he was last time, but it just escapes me. But he's a pretty big boy. He's got a lot of wounds, so I guess before we start with the Warband, there are 2 rules that I want to highlight.
Okay.
The first one is Bone Tithe. So, Bone Tithe states after an enemy fighter is taken out of action, gain 1 tithe counter. If that fighter had a wounds characteristic of 4 plus, gain 2 tithe counters. Only 1 fighter can use this ability each time a fighter is taken out of action.
Yeah.
Now, the second rule, and we'll talk about both of these in conjunction. The second rule is Naderite. So a bunch of the fighters have the Mortek keyword. What Naderite states is +1 damage if the attack roll contains any half supports and there is 1 friendly supporting Mortek, or if it contains any half supports and full supports and there are 2 or more friendly supporting Morteks.
Yeah.
So any weapon with the Naderite keyword can gain those benefits. And then also there's Mortek Advance. Reaction. After this fighter's move action, choose 1 friendly Mortek that has no move or charge tokens. The chosen fighter makes a move action that must end adjacent to this fighter. So those are the 3 big mechanics that sort of revolve around this warband. And again, I apologize if I don't sound as enthusiastic as I usually do. I'm just super nasally. So taking that into consideration, we're going to be looking at all the fighter cards. But right off the bat, Jonathan, I would love to get your thoughts on the Bone Tithe special rule.
Yeah, so the Bone Tithe is interesting. I think this is the first time, well, at least the way I'm reading this, it doesn't seem like it's a particular fighter that gets the tithe tokens. It seems like it's you as the player or the warband that has
the
one.
warband, yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Unlike like Draknar with the despoilers or the crushes, it's not really limited to a specific fighter. So it's more of a warband resource. So that's interesting. I think the way that they're gained is a little bit difficult depending on the matchup. Very similar to the way the despoilers work.
Yeah.
And they don't start with any like the despoilers do. But I do like the bonus where if the enemy has 4 or more wounds, you'll get 2. That does help a little bit.
Yeah, I do think it's a really neat mechanic. And as we'll see later on, this isn't the only way you can gain a tithe counter. There are some other ways as well, which can help improve upon the efficiency of you gaining and potentially spending these tithe counters as well. Um, I guess for reference sake, the inspire condition for the warband is after a power step you have 3 or more tithe counters. So
Hmm.
that kind of helps realize the importance behind how important it is gaining some of these bone tithe counters. We won't talk about the inspire just yet. Jonathan, I also wanted to get your opinion on Mortek Advance and Naderite.
Yeah, so Netherite, I like it. It's sort of like doing more damage on a crit, or a little bit better than that if you have double support. Um, I guess we'll have to see. Like we talked about recently, how we don't really like cards that require support, but this is sort of a free bonus on these fighter cards. So, and they have ways to get support. So, um, it strikes me as okay. If you get most of these fighters are fairly accurate. So if you get some damage upgrades on them, then I think they can become a little bit dangerous. I think most of them are too smash to start out with. So that's not super likely to roll a support, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I don't know if it's something you can rely on, or the reason you play this warband, but it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think, and this might be a hot take, this might not be, but I don't think you're going to build a strategy around Naderite. I think it's
Yeah,
a nice to have. I think it'll be fun when it goes off, but you can't rely for it. And as such, because you can never plan for it, it's almost similar to like Fighter's Ferocity, where you're just hoping to roll a crit, but really you're always hoping. Unless you're throwing like 4 or 5 dice at a target consistently, you can't guarantee it. And even then, it's hard to do so. There are cards that you can take, like I think Swarming Strike. The first friendly fighter to make an attack action, the next activation is considered to have one additional supporting fighter.
yeah,
Like that can be cool. So like technically, you could go in, maybe roll a smash and a half support, but because you technically had a supporting fighter, you do 3 damage or 2 damage depending on the attack characteristic or profile of your fighter. But I definitely think it's just a nice to have.
yeah. Yeah, the problem with it is that, similar to something like Fighter's Ferocity, um, it's just not as good as an ability that would always give you another damage. And so if you're trying to one shot an enemy fighter and you need to do exactly the amount of damage needed, you're sort of relying on a narrower band of like dice luck to get what you need. So like I
Yeah.
don't think this ability means that this warband doesn't have to take damage, because I think you still want that guaranteed, or that like higher range of successful kill damage. So, but I think it's a nice thing to have. I mean, there will be times when it works and it does what you need it to do, and some options are better than no options. So, um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Like I can see this like your fighter charges, into um I don't know, like maybe an inspired Karu charges into like Kikitaka. And
yeah,
then you're like, man, I really hope I roll a half support. And then you do, and you do 3 damage. That's really cool. Um,
yeah,
but again, it's hope.
yeah. It's just not something you're going to necessarily want to rely on every time, but um, it is nice.
Yeah. The last special rule is Mortek Advance. Again, essentially if one fighter can move, if another fighter does not have any move or charge tokens, they can make a move action, which means they'd gain a move token and end that action next to or adjacent to the fighter that they reacted off of. Really quickly, what are your thoughts there before we jump into the fighters proper?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I guess it's only on the four, um, like the 4 2 health Mortex, right?
I believe Binar is a Mortek as well,
Is
which is the 3 wound fighter.
okay, but he doesn't have the ability,
Oh yeah, he doesn't.
so he is a
Yeah, it's
Mortex.
just the
So
it's just the 4, but they can react off him, but he can't react off them.
that's how it works. Right, right, right.
Yeah,
So after this fighter's, yeah, I guess this is an ability I'm just gonna have to figure out. But um, after this fighter's move action, another one. That's interesting. It's kind of like a reverse scurry, I guess. Um, if you charge with one of these fighters that has the ability, you can push another Mortek adjacent, and that's going to help the support ability, um, and the Nadrite. So, I do like that. We'll have to see. I don't know if it's as good as Scurry because you're not going to be able to like hold objective like multiple different objectives and stuff. It seems like it's better used in an aggressive fashion. So um,
Right. I think that's the initial appeal, but I definitely think that you could maybe like charge with a fighter adjacent to an objective,
yeah,
and then they can react, jump onto the objective, and then you get that support and potentially that support bonus. So not
right.
only is your attack more accurate, but you've essentially moved two fighters because you have six fighters and you only have four
Hmm.
activations, so you can maybe get a little bit of activation efficiency there. So I think there are some cool things that you can do if you do a lot of prep and setup, and especially when the objectives are placed on the board and you really plan for that. So I
Yeah.
think really, I think smart players and tactical players will take advantage of it. But you're absolutely correct in that, similar to Gits, it takes a lot of practice to get it right.
Yeah, I think that knowing when to use this is going to be important, and good positioning is going to be important as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Okay, well, those are the three big mechanics surrounding this warband. But let's take a look at the leader of the warband, Mir Kainan.
Yeah.
Mir Kainan can do it all. He's a leader. He's a wizard, level one wizard, and he's got six wounds. So
Yeah.
he's an intelligent big boy. The only thing he's really missing is the hunter keyword, but it's so easy to get that nowadays where it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
He's got a Soul Reaper axe. It's range two, two smash, three damage, and he's got a Reaping Swing attack, which is the second attack action here. It's a range one, two smash, two damage scything attack, which is crazy. It's a two smash, two damage scything attack. His bottom stat profile is three move, one defense, one block, and six wounds. And he's got a special rule called Invigorated. At the start of this fighter's activation, you can discard two tithe counters. If you do, pick one modifier to apply until the end of the activation, plus one move. Or your Soul Reaper axe has plus one dice or plus one damage. And again, the Soul Reaper axe is the two smash, two range, three damage attack. So that can
Yeah.
bump up to either three smash or four damage if you've got the right number of tithe counters.
Yeah. That's pretty scary.
It's crazy. Now,
But
when
two tithe counters does seem like a lot.
yeah, especially when because his inspire condition is you need to have three or more to inspire.
Yeah.
So like I feel like very early on you're going to be making decisions like, damn, should I try to kill like Cursebreaker or Morgok really quickly, or do I inspire and then try to do some other stuff later? So
Right. Right.
it's pretty interesting. When he inspires, he gains a little bit. Actually, it's a lot in some cases. He goes to two block, which is huge.
Hmm.
His axe does four damage, which is scary.
Yep.
And he's got three smash on his scything attack. So I think
Yeah.
Mir Kainan is arguably one of the most accurate and scary big boys we've ever seen.
Yeah. I think he compares very well to Hrothgorn. Um, Stat wise, they both have six health. They get that second block when they inspire. The attacks are a little bit different. He's not quite as accurate with his high damage attack. He doesn't have a the range three, but it's range two, which is really good. So he's kind of like a mix of Hrothgorn and Mollog, I guess, um, without the Mollog's incredible ability to charge over and over again. So just a very very scary guy, and he's
Yeah.
scary to big fighters and multiple little fighters with the scything. So um,
I do think that he's pretty pretty fairly statted. I mean, you could argue the four damage is a bit much, but I really like that he's three move
yeah, me too.
because you can kind of, even though he's got a threat range of five,
Hmm.
technically, it's pretty manageable, and a distraction or something can really slow him down. And it seems like if, and we'll get to this later, but like the main way to get bone tithe counters is, or tithe counters rather, is by killing things.
Hmm.
And when we look at the rest of the warband, Kanan is the only one who's actually reliably going to kill things. Um,
Yeah,
right. So a lot of it seems like it's feast or famine on Kanan so far, But that's just first impressions. So, anything else you want to add about Senor Kanan?
Um, no, I mean, I think that it's going to be a lot like Rothkorn. It's how you're going to look at him. Like, I think he's going to probably sit in the front, and just be scary. But he can only charge once, which I think is going to be a big deal. I think commanding stride is going to be great, but and then unlike Rothkorn, I think he's pretty hard to inspire. So off the bat, I think I like him, but I don't know. Like I don't know who's better, Rothkorn or him. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm almost at the mind is like I don't really care if I inspire him
Yeah.
because you just give him a great strength and then he's pretty much hitting at his inspired profile.
Hmm.
Or like a augmented limbs,
Yeah.
and now he's at 3 smash. So you can actually manipulate the fighter himself very quickly. The only thing you'll probably miss out on is that second block, but
Yeah. And I think that's a
I'm
big
not.
deal because like Rothkorn's pretty likely to inspire in the first round and get that inspired profile, whereas I don't know if Kanan is. So I feel like there's a pretty good
Yeah,
chance you can kill Kanan unless you really build your deck around keeping him around.
agreed. Which I think you might want to
Yeah.
invest a lot of resources to keep him alive, but um, yeah, we'll have to see. Uh, I'm I'm very curious to see how he interacts with the rest of the warbands out there,
Yeah.
because like an Art Skull slash Morgok can put a hurt on him pretty quickly. So among some of the
Yeah.
other fighters.
Yeah. I think that's what's interesting is like if he goes in too early, then Crushes could realistically just kill him. Um,
Yeah,
so I think you have to be careful with him, but he certainly has a lot of power and a lot of potential to do a lot of damage. So I like
agreed.
it.
I do too. Okay, well let's go to his second in command,
Yeah.
Benar Kenta.
Hmm.
Benar is a Mortek. He's got a halberd, which is 2 damage, 2 range, 2 smash. It does have the Naderite special rule, so on half supports or on half and full supports, depending on the number of supporting fighters, it can naturally go up to 3 damage. He's got 3 move, 1 block, 3 damage, and when he inspires, which is the same way that the rest of the Warband inspires, when you, the Warband, have 3 or more tithe counters, his attack action gains cleave, and that's really it. Um,
That is it. Yeah.
so it's interesting because again, I'm seeing this pattern where like your best 2 fighters don't need to inspire,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. What do you
Yeah.
think
I
about
mean,
Kenta?
so I think he's a solid fighter. Um, you don't really need him for anything. Like he doesn't really do anything. Like my reading of the Bone Tithe rule is like it's not like he's holding them, right?
No, any fighter, every fighter
Yeah.
has the bone tithe. Well, no, that's false. So only Kane and Kenta have the bone tithe special rule. So if they die,
Oh.
you no longer
So
use the bone tithe rule.
maybe he is holding it then. I guess that's just not very clear.
I think that if you go in with Kanan, you keep Kenta safe.
Oh, I see.
So
It's just that if they both die, you can't do it anymore.
you don't get a bone tithe counter for killing enemy fighters.
Right, right, right.
You can
Gotcha.
still gain them through the upgrade and gambits that the faction
Okay.
has.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So you do need to keep Kenta around if the leader dies,
Correct.
because then you'll still want to be able to do the bone tithe. So that makes sense. If the leader
If
is
you want to kill
alive,
stuff.
yeah. If the leader is alive, then Bernard Kent is just kind of a beat stick, because he does have the
Agreed.
best Nadrate attack of the other ones.
I think yeah, a Naderite attack, yeah. So he's
Yeah.
um he's interesting because he kind of reminds me of Thrafnir, if we're
Yeah.
gonna make Rothgorn comparisons, but in that
Hmm.
in that he's like your backup bone tithe guy. So
Yeah. But I like the range too a lot.
yeah, I think either way I'm just gonna send these 2 guys in because like you might kill Kenta, but that means that's 3 wounds off Kanan,
Yeah.
right? And then I that may give me a time to like improve Kanan's wound up characteristics.
Hmm.
So I think either way These two fighters are pretty solid. And for a second in command, I think rocking the same characteristics as Kikitaka seems pretty good to me. Right,
I
except
also
for the
like. Oh, sorry. I also like that you can use uh, the ability with the Mortex to pull him forward. Like you move up with one of the other Mortex, and then you pull him into range or something, and then maybe he can just attack, attack, attack.
well, he
Um,
doesn't have the advanced reaction, so they can react off him.
I thought it was the other way around.
No, so
So it says after this fighter's move action, choose one friendly Mortek that has no move. So he can't trigger it, but he can use it.
yes,
So you can move with another Mortek, and then he can move up.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, okay,
Um,
cool, cool. Yeah, makes
yeah.
sense.
If he moves up, then nobody can follow him, but he can follow
Correct,
other people. Yeah. So
correct.
I
Yes.
like that. Maybe you charge with one of the other guys, and you move him up. He gives support, and then he's also in range of other things. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
It's really cool. A little complicated at first, but once you get it down,
Yeah, I'm
it
still
makes
trying
a
to
lot of
wrap my
sense.
mind around exactly how these guys work. So
Yep. 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 So let's jump to the more text. There's four of them. I don't know how you're going to show this on the screen, but maybe you can click on them. They do
yeah, I have the
expand.
images. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. So
So the
let's
first one
start
I
with
have is Karu.
let's start with Karu. So Karu is 3 move, 1 block, 2 damage. Same inspire as everyone else.
Yep.
Range 1, 2 smash, 1 damage with the Nadirite special rule. Again, we all know what Nadirite does. When he inspires, he gains knockback 1 because he's got a mace, and maces are used for knockbacking in this game. And he goes to 2 block, which is actually pretty solid for a 2 health fighter. But nothing else really changes. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think about Karu or Karu?
Um, I think he's okay. I mean, the one damage attack isn't great. The Nadrit makes it a little bit better, but it's not that reliable. Two block does seem annoying later in the game once you inspire. So um, I feel like because it seems like inspiring is difficult. Maybe you give these guys weapons and you rely more on the weapons than you do um, their stat line. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's okay.
Yeah, this is the first fighter where I'm kind of like, now I kind of want to get inspired, but he's not really doing much for me even when he's inspired.
Yeah.
Um, so depending on how you want to play these guys, like if my immediate thought is like if you want to play them aggressively, then maybe try to find ways to get as many tithe counters as you can very quickly. Otherwise, I think my boy is going to be holding an objective and just chilling.
Yeah. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I do like his head shape compared to everyone else's. All the Mortex have different head shapes, and his
Yeah.
looks the coolest. Let's jump to know him. Know him. Know him.
All right.
Um, he is the first Ossiarch Bone Reaper we've ever seen with a bow and arrow, so very
Hmm.
cool. He's also the only Ossiarch Bone Reaper that's a hunter,
Yep.
but he is a Mortek, which is important. He's got a range 3 attack that hits on 2 smash. I feel like the Ossiarch Bone Reapers are like the elite fighters of the dead, like the elves of like the undead, because like they're very accurate, but they like are also kind of not tough.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
um,
one block isn't bad. Um,
but 2 smash on an arrow is like reserved for
yeah.
like elves, and dwarves with guns.
Yeah. That's true.
So I think that's pretty neat. But anyway, so he's got Nadirite, so he can potentially do 2 damage. But otherwise, it's usually just one, 2 wounds, 1 block, 3 move. He's got that Mortek advance. He's again the Nadirite when he inspires. Um, he goes to 3 smash on his attack, but that's it. Not much changes there, except he becomes like pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Um,
He does become accurate, and I think it makes the Nadrite better, like quite a bit better.
I think it
I
makes it
do
better
like
for
that.
him because it's easier for
Yeah.
him to get a supporting fighter
Right.
rather than to be the supporting fighter, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And because he has 3 dice, he'll roll more supports and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I like this one. I think similar to what I was trying to say with Kenta. Um, I think maybe you'll move this guy up with the ability, and then maybe he'll be able to take pot shots at people. Um, so I like that. And also, it's just nice to be able to charge onto an objective and shoot at somebody, with a pretty accurate range attack. So, um, seems okay.
Yeah, I do think he's a pretty solid archer for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Um, Archers are a mixed bag in this game, though. So
Yeah, I mean, we just got Glory Seeker, so I mean that makes it a little bit better. And you know, if you're able to get support, which you might be able to, then maybe you can be doing a lot of damage. So
yeah, maybe even Fighter's Ferocity.
maybe.
That could be wild. He could be doing 4 damage from Mage. Okay, well let's jump to Senna. So Senna is a
Sure.
Mortek as well.
Yeah.
He's got 3 move, 1 block, 2 wounds, a melee
Yeah.
attack with 2 smash and 1 damage. He's got the Natterite special rule, same inspire as everyone else. When he inspires, he goes to 2 block and 3 fury.
Yeah.
What do you
So
think about
so basically
Senna?
the same as Karu, the other one with the shield and the mace. Um, but he gets to the 3 fury instead of knockback. Which normally we wouldn't even think is really an advantage. 3 fury over 2 smash is almost exactly the same, but it is better at rolling um, crits, and it is better at rolling supports. So I guess it makes his Nadrite weapon just a tiny bit better. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but he's a decent 2 health fighter that's going to stand there. His 1 block will make him a little bit better than like a goblin or a ghost or something that you might be comparing it to, and hopefully he'll hold an objective and you can give him a weapon. That's how I'm thinking about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do like that he gets better as the game, like as you inspire, which is nice. Again,
Yeah,
there's more incentive to inspire if needed. Um, so he can either be like a second, like a backup frontline fighter, or an objective caddy. I don't know if it matters which one you pick, but I think that all depends on the inspire. But I really do like the fact that he does roll so many dice, which is pretty neat.
yeah, yeah. It's a nice way to differentiate the sword, I guess, from the mace. But
Yeah, just like the Soul Tooth and Amberbone weapons. So
yeah,
let's jump to last but not least. We have Hakor, who's a Mortek.
yeah,
He's got a Soul Cleaver Great Blade. This is a melee attack with 2 damage and 2 smash. Keep in mind that it's not Natterite,
right.
so you don't get any benefit from that because he's special and he's not using a Natterite weapon. Um, he's 3 move, 1 block, 2 damage or 2 wounds. And then when he inspires, he gains cleave.
Yep, and that's it.
Rivet. Jonathan doesn't like it because it's cleave.
I don't mind the free cleave. I just I don't know how often that he'll use it. I do like that he doesn't need the Nadrite ability to give him that second point of damage if you compare him to the other ones.
Yeah,
So he's probably the one that you send in first, and then you try to use him to give support to the other ones, maybe.
correct. Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
but yeah, I mean a 2 smash attack for 2 damage is very solid. There's really just nothing wrong with it. Um, but otherwise he's kind of a dude, just kind of forgettable.
He's a bro.
Yeah, this.
He's a more tech bro tech. He's a bro tech.
Yeah,
Anyways, so overall, 6 fighters.
yeah,
I think there was 3 of them that we were like kind of curious about, and then 3 of them were like pretty sold on in terms of their fighter stats. This is without any sort of card knowledge, or at
yeah.
least card knowledge we're taking into account in this conversation. So, what do you think about the warband holistically?
So I think that they're interesting. They're very slow, which is kind of curious. The They kind of remind me of a combination of the Zarbag's Gits and Moloch's Mob somehow. It's kind of like Moloch, but he has a lot more guys, and you have a lot of guys, and they can move around in strange ways, kind of like the Gits. And I feel like I'm going to be just throwing people um, at the enemy in a sort of aggressive fashion, which is how I like to play the Gits too. So that's how I'm thinking about them right now. Um, It's curious. We haven't really seen anything like this because I think you're going to want to use these Mortex more than you would want to use the Gnoblars in Hrothgorn and the Squigs in Mollog. Like these guys can do things pretty reasonably well, and but then you have the leader who's just a beast. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm of the same mind where I think Kanan will be doing most of the heavy lifting, but I really think that like Kenta, Hakor, and maybe even like Senna and Karu can like pick up the slack. Because I
Hmm.
think there are always going to be games where like your big boy goes down early. You just can't help it. It just that's just
Yeah.
the way the cookie crumbles, or the dice are rolled, for a more apt term. And I think like Kenta or Hakor can be a great backup fighter, like leader, because like, and especially if your objective is to eliminate enemy fighters, then you need to keep Kenta or Kanan alive, to get
Yeah.
that Bone Tithe ability. So
And the other interesting thing is that with 6 fighters, I feel like this can pretty solidly be said to be an objective warband. I guess we'll see what objectives they have, but
yeah,
I think this warband is going to be pretty good at controlling objectives, which is also something new as far as the big fighter warbands are. Like I mean, I guess you can play hold objective Hrothgorn, but he's really better at destroying objectives. Um,
yeah.
so, and I think
I
having one extra fighter and they're considerably more durable since they're all in one block. I think they're going to be better at than Hrothgorn was.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's just easier to kind of hold, 2 or 3 objectives on your end with your
Yeah,
3 fighters that you perceive to be the weakest to your game plan, and then you kind of just
right.
jump on in with Kane and Kenta and probably Hakor and go to town.
Yeah, and the opponent's going to have to decide whether or not they try to just like mess that up or deal with the giant guy in their face. So
Yeah, which sometimes it's better to ignore the big boy because he gets
yeah,
1 kill a turn potentially. Why feed him? But I don't know, man. You give him a duelist speed or like some side steps,
yeah,
and he can be quite a monster, if not already one. So
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, cool. Well, let's jump to the objectives. So Jonathan, I'll go ahead and let you start him off,
sure,
uh, in whatever order you want.
sure. We'll start with Pride of the Thorak Cast. It is a surge for 1 glory. Score this immediately after an activation if 3 or more friendly Morteks are in enemy territory. Hmm.
Yeah. So this is like a faction half of Jove Force.
Yeah.
I do think that the better way to play this warband is probably win boards, control, like guarantee 2 objectives on your end, and
Hmm.
then dictate how the engagement moves on moving forward. So I'm not necessarily sure if you're going to want to always have enemies or fighters in enemy territory, unless you're playing the aggressive variant of this warband, which I think we've both decided that there's 2 ways to play: balls to the wall aggro,
Right.
taking advantage of Mortek Advance and Naderite, or the classic hold objective style of play. If you're going to do the former, I think this is a good card because there's a lot of benefits for being in enemy territory that can stack in the universal card pool.
Hmm.
From the way that I'm thinking I want to play this warband, I don't know if it's something that immediately is like, oh, I must have this. Especially because Show of Force is a better version of this card and I can score it passively.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think you could. I think you could build a deck around this, but I don't. I don't know if you take it right away. Yeah. The next one is score this in an end phase if there are, or it's called ranks unbroken by descent. Score this in an end phase if 3 or more friendly Mortex are in one group in which each fighter is adjacent to 1 or more other fighters in that group
Yeah, so this is a fun one, right? Because
for 1 glory. Yeah.
yeah, 1 glory. So essentially, you can move a fighter, react, move another fighter, react,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do this in one activation. But then half your warband is done for the round,
Yeah.
right? On top of that, unless you're trying to move forward, this will maybe not necessarily gel or um, synergize well with the fact that you're trying to hold objectives.
Yeah.
So for that reason, again, I think there's 2 camps. If you want to be objective or aggressive, rather, then yeah, cool, cool. It's one activation to score, 1 glory in the end phase, or you probably pass on it because you're trying to hold objectives and be more tactical with your activations.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it is fairly reliable if you aren't playing too aggressively, but because you should be able to get that positioning. But I'm not sure if it's worth. I'm not sure, just not sure if it's worth it because it's only one glory.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just super like telegraphed.
yeah,
Like if I'm ever playing against a Bone Reapers player and then all of a sudden there's three fighters next to each other, I'm definitely gonna try to drive one back or distraction one of them, right? Or
mm.
at least kill one of them, just to stop that one glory. And then at that point, you've bricked a one glory card. They're gonna toss it. There's no point in keeping
Yeah,
it, right?
that's true. That's true. Yeah, if this was popular, then you'd be able to. There'd be some counterplay. Yeah. Okay. Well, the next one is Tithe Masters. Surge for one glory. Score this immediately after you gain a second or subsequent tithe counter in the same phase. What do you think about that?
I like this one a lot.
Okay.
I think it's kill two fighters, surge. But if you actually look at the gambits that this warband has, it's actually a lot easier than that. It's probably play a card or two and kill a fighter, or
Or
maybe
it's
just
kill
play a
one
card.
fighter that's 4 health or more.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah. I don't think it's. I think you probably take it. I think that because you have, uh, if you're taking the other cards that will give you tithe, which I think you probably do, I think this is okay.
Yeah.
I think in general this warband is going to suffer against the uh, like crushes that are just it's hard to even get one kill. But against everybody else, you should be able to get a kill against a 4 health fighter, or you should be able to get 2 kills in one round. So
Yeah.
I like it. The next one is Walking Mass Grave. Score this in an end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has one or more move and or charge tokens. What do you think about that?
I think it's really doable given the fact that you have Mortek advance.
Yeah.
So again, if you honestly, whether you're trying to hold objectives or be aggressive, like you can do this if you're not just pushing fighters.
Right.
So, um, I don't I don't see this as a bad card at all. It is one glory, so I might think twice,
Right.
but it's certainly reliable and achievable.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, you can make one activation, move a Mortek, and then move all of the other Morteks after it. So, um, like it's just you should be able to do it. It's just a matter of like doing it and remembering to do it throughout your activation. So
And it
um,
also being efficient, right?
yeah,
'Cause
yeah, there may be better
sometimes I feel
options.
like it can be wildly inefficient.
Yeah, sometimes you're just gonna want to attack with the main guy. So
Yeah.
all right, we'll go to our first 2 glory objective here. Nagash's Will for 2 glory. Score this in an end phase if 3 or more enemy fighters are out of action.
And what an objective it is. Psych. We've talked about this so many times, right? Like
Yeah,
matchup dependent, meta dependent. There are
right.
probably better, more easier ways to get to glory. Um, Try scoring this against Crusha next.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. These are okay. I prefer the one that says like, more than half of the enemy warband. It's a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next one is 3 glory, Peerless Conquerors. Score this in an end phase if you have more tithe counters than the number of friendly fighters out of action. Um, I think that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. Because if you just look at the Bone Tithe mechanic,
Yeah,
it's essentially like an annihilation style effect or condition, right? Where you got to
I
kill a
agree.
bunch of fighters to gain tithe counters, and hopefully, but in this case, there's a second condition where you have to have more tithe counters than friendly fighters alive,
Yeah,
um, and
and
it's
that means
less
you're not
glory,
spending any of them either.
correct? And which, like, off the bat, we've seen that Kainan can spend the two of them to do some pretty nasty things to
Yeah,
his attack profile. So I don't know if I like this card at all, just given the fact that if it was like any end phase, maybe it's too strong. So I get why they made it third end phase, but
yeah,
I don't really see this happening.
I agree. The next one is Pitiless Harvest. Score this in an end phase if 2 or more enemy fighters were taken out of action in the preceding action phase for 2 glory. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really interested in this one because like again we get these like faction objectives that are geared towards aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So like it makes sense in where the designers wanted this card to or this warband to play.
Yeah,
Again, ultimately, like I think this is a good card just for taking out two enemy fighters, but it has the same issues that Nagash's Will has, and that is extremely meta dependent. Like if I'm playing into a very varied warband, like selection or pool, then yeah, I would maybe consider this over Nagash as well and consider this first. Um,
Yeah.
or maybe Nagash as well. I don't know, one of the two. But because of the meta right now just being so heavy in one direction, I just don't know if I'd ever slot this in at this current time because I don't think I can kill two crushes or hell even two Noblars in one in one action phase because I've got Thrafnir and Hrothgorn breathing down my neck. So I don't know. I don't think so.
I think I like this one a little bit more than you do, but I think you're right. I think this is better than Nagash as well most of the time. Um, but it's still going to have the problem against those like hyper durable small fighter warbands. But this is probably like a B for me, and then I'll probably try it. I think you will get it a fair amount of time against most warbands, so um, I think it's okay. The next one is Pride of the Emissarian Cast. Score Surge for 1 glory. Score this immediately after an activation if your leader holds an objective in enemy territory.
Super easy.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah, very good card. It's like Godded Boss, just as good, except it's designed for your leader. So maybe late
Yeah.
game it's tougher if your leader's dead, but I don't see why your leader can't just do whatever the hell he wants to do in enemy territory.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically like Bold Conquest. It's a little bit better, though, I guess. Um,
Well, you don't even have to charge. You can just like push onto it in the
exactly.
power step, make an attack in your activation, score it.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be your leader's activation. So, like, you actually could
Correct.
just push and then do something else. Yeah. I wonder if you take this and Bold Conquest, um, try to get a double score
You
there.
could.
That could be pretty good. Yeah, I think this one's solid. I like it.
I like it a lot with Swift Capture and Hidden Purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. The next one is Craft a New Order for 1 glory. It's a surge. Score this immediately after an activation if you have 5 or more tithe counters. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The problem with this one for me is that I think once I get 3 tithe counters, I'm going to be spending them.
Yeah,
Um, and I think getting 5 is a lot.
I
So
think it's a
you'd have to
lot.
kill, like 3 Magor's Fiends or 5 Gets or something to get that. So it's a lot.
Yep, I agree. I am not. I'm not.
No
I'm not into
arguments
this
here.
one. I don't think you're crafting anything with this one.
Yeah. The next one is Created for War for 2 glory. Score this in an end phase if friendly fighters made 4 or more attack actions in the preceding action phase. Ooh. So
Is
keep
this
dropping.
keep chopping?
Sort of. It's a little bit better because it seems like the attacks can be made at any time.
At any time. I like it. I think. I think even if you're gonna just hyper focus on Kainan, this could be done.
And I'd have to look. I wonder if I'm not sure. I need to look at the wording on scything attacks. But does one scything attack? Is that just 4 attack actions? It might be.
It might be actually. We'll have to. We'll
I
have to
think because I think they
confirm
are
that.
separate attack actions. Yeah. So
Yes.
so this is the first one that I think I definitely take no matter what.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like you know, Noam can be pretty nice to like help you get that fourth attack.
Yeah.
To make a shot if things are getting dire.
Yeah. You,
Because
you
he
have
can.
3 fighters with range 2 or more. So I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good card.
The next one is 1 glory surge gruesome certainty. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's attack action that resulted in a critical hit.
So I'm gonna be super biased here because like I think Headshot was like one of the easiest cards to score in Night Vault when I played Profiteers religiously because
Mm-hmm.
like we talked. I think we did the math on the last episode. Like pretty much half your attacks that are successful, that means
Right.
that deal damage will be criticals.
Yep. Yeah,
So
just about half. So
you got a pretty
especially
damn
when
good
you're on
chance
2
of scoring
smash.
this
Yeah.
card.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is you're just very likely to do this sometime during the activation. Or during the round. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
The next one is Macabre. I forget how to say that
Macabre.
word. Macabre Splendor. Hybrid for 1 glory. Score this in an end phase if each surviving friendly fighter is inspired, or one or more surviving friendly fighters each have 3 or more upgrades. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that it's hybrid. So like we've seen cards that like you can score for having 3 or more upgrades, like on the Dark Path, and some of the cards in previous seasons. So
Yeah.
they've been taken. I mean, like the cool thing about Kainan is like you can take like Lost Pages on him because he's uh he's a wizard, and then
Right.
you can like score into some passive stuff like this and show force and some other things like that. So um, I don't mind. I don't mind seeing this here. Um,
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's
okay.
pretty reliable if you want it.
Right. You're going to be stacking upgrades on Kainan. So
Yeah.
you should be able to score this. Again, with any of these one glory cards, I think you just have to see if that's what you want. Um, but it's not bad.
It's not bad at all. Well, that does it for the objectives here. So, any like holistic thoughts on them, Jonathan?
um, so as a whole, I would say I get the impression that these are sort of weak. There's a couple in here that I like for sure. They're almost all aggressive, which is interesting. Um, but there's only probably one, maybe two that I'm going to take for sure, which would be Traded for War and Pride of the Emissarian Caste. The rest, I think, are more situational. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm in the same mindset that obviously designed extremely for aggressive play, and I think if you look at the lore behind the OBR, which is short for Ossiarch Bone Reapers,
Yeah.
um, you'll see that even in their lore, they're like a martial race
Yeah.
created to exclusively like elite warfare and like they're all sentient or most of them for the most part, and like they can they pride themselves on being like superb warriors and tacticians and other things like that. So I get why they want to be aggressive and kill things. Plus, they're trying to collect bone to make more of them. I do, in addition to the two that you mentioned, I really do like gruesome certainty. I think
And I
all you
actually
can
like
really
Tithe
ask.
Masters as well.
Yes, yes. So like the only thing you can really ever ask for in a warband is like 1 to 2 good end phase cards and 2 good surges.
And actually, that's 3 surges and 1 good end phase card. So, good enough, probably.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't think it's bad. I think they've got good support, and then they may, unless you're playing them aggressively, you're going to rely on a universal card pool, but
Right. Yeah. I think that
it's
makes sense.
seems fine. Do you have a favorite?
Um, I think I guess I'm just kind of happy to see the keep dropping short a card back. So that's
Created
cool.
for War.
Created for War. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with gruesome certainty, just because. Got to stay on brand here, guys.
Yep. You like those critical successes.
It's just easy. You don't have to. It's just like play your game and eventually score a card for no reason. So
Yeah.
I like it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's start with these gambits, huh? Scroll some down.
All right. Yeah. I guess they did the upgrades first. That's interesting.
Yeah, they always do them in a different order. And I noticed that they also did these gambits like backwards. So like the first card should be exceptional efficiency in terms of alphabetical order. But anyways, we'll start with Never Sleep. Never Sleep is restricted to Kenta, so he has to be active on the battlefield for you to play this card. When you play this card, discard 2 Tithe counters. When you do so, friendly Mortex adjacent to one or more friendly Mortex have +1 defense. This effect persists until the end of the round. What do you think?
No, I think so. I like the effect because it's quite strong, but I don't think it's easy to get tithe counters. And by the time you do get 2 tithe counters, really you're going to want more than 2 because I think you want to inspire first. I think you always prioritize inspiring. So like maybe it's the second round that you even want to use this card. I feel like then you're going to be kind of scattered, or you're more likely to be scattered. So I don't think I would take this one, but it is interesting, and it can be quite powerful. If you inspire and then you play this and some of your guys are on 3 block, like that's pretty good.
Yeah, but I think the points that you mentioned in that,
Just very
I
lengthy.
really want to get those tithe counters to inspire.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, like I rather spend 2 for like Kainan to get a guaranteed kill versus like my potential fighters who may or may not be adjacent to one another survive longer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool, cool. Next card, Never Yield. Again, restricted to Kenta. It looks like Kenta is the sergeant of the squad here. Um, each time a friendly Mortek is dealt damage, you can discard one Tithe counter. If you do, reduce that damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. This effect persists until the end of the round.
Yeah. So I like the design space here with it sort of gives Kenta a little bit more to do. You do want to keep him around so you can use the buff cards. Um, as far as this buff goes, I like this one more. I like that it persists throughout the whole round and it makes your Mortex annoying to kill. You also don't have to discard the Tithe counters right away if you don't want to. And you basically you'll get to choose. So you'd only ever do it if it's going to keep a Mortek alive. And that to me could potentially be worth it. Because what it makes your opponent do is it makes your opponent hit them for 3. And then you say, all right, well, I'm just going to let that go through then. Like basically you don't even have to use it. Like you force them to do more damage than they need to. And if they try to bait you out and do 2, then you can choose whether or not you want to deny the kill. So it's interesting. So I like that about it. I'm still not sure if it's worth inspiring slower. But if this comes out late and you have 3 already, maybe you just make your guys super annoying to kill.
Yeah. I really think that I agree. I really like the way that the design and the timing that's associated with this card. I think you're spot on there. My thing is like the only time I probably ever use this is if I'm trying to save Kenta,
Maybe.
right? Because like everyone else is pretty expendable, and this doesn't
Yeah.
work on Kainan. So I do like the fact that, as you mentioned, you can like deny 1 kill, but at the cost of what? At the cost of potentially using those Tithe counters for some other abilities or cards, or even inspiring, right? So
Yeah.
it's I guess there's no right answer because the more and more we talk about this Tithe counter system, it's like, well, like do we like it's always going to be situational. Like what's the best decision for you to make in the moment? And right now, I think we can both agree, or at least I can, and say, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, is like I think you prioritize the inspire over everything, or
Yeah.
unless there's some other cards that we haven't got to yet, you're gonna use them to like spend and do cool things with Kainan and maybe other cards.
I think you're right. I just think there may be a build where you are using the little guys very aggressively right away.
Yeah,
Um, and then if that's the case, this makes them pretty annoying. Um, but you do also have to already have the Tithe counters. So I don't know. This is one I'm interested to see if it sees any play. But
yeah,
it's
me too.
it's better than the previous one.
Yeah, it is better. I will say that I'm just not sold on it right now.
Yeah.
Right, but we'll see. I think you're right. This could be. I think this could see some play in some different builds. So, next one is Lethal Accuracy. When you play this card, you can discard any number of your Tithe counters. In the next activation, +1 dice to the first attack action made by a friendly Mortek, and plus X dice in addition, where X is the number of the counters you discarded.
Yeah. Um, so I like this one. I think you do have to be playing a Mortek like aggro build, which I guess we'll see if that's the way to play these guys. Um, but +1 dice isn't awful, and then if you do have the extra Tithe counters, you can get +2 or 3 or whatever dice. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, I think if you're Morteking it up, if you're playing Brotech build,
Yeah.
then Lethal Accuracy is a pretty decent card. It's a good accuracy card as well. Not much more to say about it. I think you hit the hammer nail on the head, really. The next one is Methodical Assault. Reaction. Play this after a friendly Mortek's failed attack action. Pick one opponent. That opponent picks one. You gain 2 Tithe counters, or that Mortek makes an attack action. This is
Yeah.
really cool. What do you think about this one?
So I like this because I guess this card makes me want to play the little guys aggressively. Because if you tool up a Mortek and then charge in, and they're going to get a kill or something, then it does put the opponent in a sort of a tough choice. The Morteks are pretty accurate, so if they're about to get if they're about to try again, then there's a pretty good chance that they're going to go through. But then on the flip side, if the opponent gives you 2 tithe counters, then you probably inspire, or
Yep.
you probably will be able to. So I like it. I'm not really sure what the and then like if they do let you attack again and the attack goes through, then you get at least 1 tithe counter from that probably. So that's interesting. So
I
I like it. I think you probably
I
take
like
it.
it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of cool applications here. But it doesn't even have to be a tooled up fighter, right? Like Kenta and um,
Right.
Kanar, what's his name? Hakar, Hakor. Kenta and Hakor are pretty. I mean, they're doing 2 damage off the bat. Like, if I miss one of your skinks or your gnoblars or your gits or your ghouls or your ghosts, and then I'm
Right.
like, I'm gonna try again, and you're like, no, I need to score hidden purpose or dominant position. I'm gonna be like, all right, you might be able to score it, but I'm gonna inspire, which I think it's a really cool trade off.
And in that situation, it puts the opponent in kind of a tough spot. Do they let you make the attack, potentially get a kill and a glory and a tithe, or do they just say no? I'll give you the 2.
Yeah,
Like that's kind of tough. I'm not
that's
sure.
a tough decision. I think this is a
Yeah.
great card. Next card is Mortal Contract. Can't have a wizard without any spells. Gambit spell. Cast on a channel. If cast, choose one enemy fighter within 3 hexes of the caster. That fighter's player picks one. You gain 1 tithe counter, or each time a friendly fighter is taken out of action, deal 1 damage to the chosen fighter. This effect persists until the chosen fighter is taken out of action.
Yeah. Uh, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I think I like it. It's what, a 50% chance to go off? One channel? No,
60.
better. Yeah, 60 something.
60.
Yeah. So I think I like it because you usually will want a tithe counter. Um, and I think that the secondary condition is pretty good too. I don't know. I'm not sure if it makes the cut, but like I don't think this is a bad spell.
I think it's a really cool idea. Um,
Yeah.
More often than not, this can stop your opponent from being aggressive, but this can also just be like, all right, I'll just pick though every time I kill someone, I take damage, and then I don't kill you, and I just control you, or I try to just damage Kainan, right?
Yeah.
Or just jump on objectives. So I think there's some ways in which like certain matchups will make this card less viable. I think my favorite part about this card is the flavor text, where it says no signature required. Um,
Yeah.
that's pretty neat. But I think out of the two choose two cards we've seen so far, I think this is definitely a weaker one. And because it can fail, you're absolutely right. In which I don't know if this makes the cut.
Yeah. And the fact that he's only level 1, isn't the best for him doing spells in the first place, but very cool design space. And I don't know if it's bad. I think it's just I'm not sure if you have room for spells.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Next card, Never Falter. Restricted to Kenta. +1 move to friendly Mortex. This effect persists until the end of the round. So now they're all movement 4.
Yeah. So this is kind of the third in the Never Sleep, Never Yield, Never Falter series.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um,
pretty cool.
and I like this one quite a bit. Doesn't cost any tithe counters. So I like that. And +1 move to all of them puts them at 4. And like because they can do their little hop, skip, and whatever it's called.
Mortek Advance.
Yeah. Then I don't know. That's okay. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't really help you do the speed stuff, but I don't think you're going to be doing that with this warband.
Nope.
Um,
You'd be
like gather
lucky if you
momentum.
score Gathered Momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it. I like it. I think the skeletons would love this, the Sepulchral Guard.
Sepulchral Guard would, yes. I do think there's a universal card that probably does this better in the set, but we'll talk
Oh.
about that in the universal review, which is tomorrow. But the next card is Ceaselit Advance. Card art here is brutal. I think Aelin or Miyari is getting trampled right now. I
Yeah.
think it's Aelin. Um, when you play this card, you can discard any number of your tithe counters. Push 1 friendly Mortek for each tithe counter you discarded, and 1 additional friendly Mortek up to 2 hexes towards the nearest enemy fighter. So in theory, you don't have to discard any counters, and you
Right.
can just push one friendly Mortek 2 hexes towards the nearest enemy fighter. However, you can also discard your Tithe counters and push a friendly Mortek for each Tithe counter you discarded. Am I reading that correctly?
So if you don't do any, you'll push one, and if you push one, you can push two. If you discard one, you can push two, and then so on. That's how I'm reading it.
When you play this, you can discard any number of your Tithe counters. Cool.
Right.
Push one friendly Mortek for each Tithe counter you discarded.
Right. So 0
And
to 3.
0 to 3. And one additional fighter on one additional friendly Mortek up to 2 hexes.
Right. So you'll always get the one additional.
So you'll always get that 2 hex push for that last Mortek.
Well, you would push all of them 2 hexes. But the number of Mortex that you get is either 1 if you do none, or 4 if you do 3.
Push one friendly Mortek for each Tithe. So I'm saying if you discard 0,
right,
you still get one additional friendly Mortek up to 2 hexes towards the nearest fighter.
Right.
So
right.
that's,
And
you'll
if you
always
push
get that.
Yeah, you'll always get that. Yeah.
So that's what I was saying, was that at the
Okay.
worst case scenario, this is push a Mortek 2 hexes towards the nearest enemy fighter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. You made me seem like I was crazy there for a second.
Sorry, I thought you were saying that the other ones were only pushed 1, but
No.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worded kind of strangely, but it's a pretty good push card. It's just limited to that it has to go towards, but maybe that's what you want to be doing. So
If you're trying to Natterite and Bro-Tech it up.
which increasingly is what these cards seem to want you to do.
Correct. Yeah. Which I'm not mad about it, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm really happy that there is because like Death Warbands are always going to be like lore wise the largest, because oftentimes it's like resurrected, cheap, shabby fighters, unless you're playing Crimson Court. And so it's really cool to see a larger warband designed for aggro rather than hold objective play. Unfortunately, the current meta will lean these guys heavy into a hold objective play style. But
maybe.
I think future seasons we might see that less and less. But with like dominant position and hidden purpose, hell, even temporary victory right now, it's kind of hard.
Maybe, yeah. I think they're gonna at least flex into some objective holding.
Yeah. Deathless Warriors is the next card. At the start of the deal damage step for each enemy fighter's attack action that targets a friendly Mortek, roll 1 defense dice. On the roll of a crit, that attack action deals no damage. The combat sequence ends, and you discard this card. This effect persists until the end of the round.
This seems potentially pretty annoying.
Well, it's like the worst one we've seen out of all these kind of cards, right?
Yeah, but except that you get to use it every single time a guy dies. So you play it at the beginning of the round, and then
that's true.
And then if you lose any of them, you get to try. So maybe you'll save one guy over the course of the round. It's probably not good enough to take, but it seems like it could be annoying.
Like hypothetically, your opponent has the ability to take out 4 fighters in a round, and let's just assume that he's targeting Mortex.
Right.
You have a 16% chance on each individual circumstance. So what does that equate to over the course of 4 fighters?
My guess is you have about a 50% chance to save one.
Save one. So
yeah,
100% of the time, half the time. Nice.
Yeah, so it's probably not worth it math wise. I just feel like I would be annoyed to know that it was in effect. Yeah, and that and of course the enemy's gonna roll a crit at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the good thing is it's on Mortex and not Kainan. So
yeah,
that's important. Next card is Dire Ultimatum. Speaking of Kainan, this is restricted to him. -1 dice from enemy attack actions to a minimum of 1, unless the attack action targets a friendly Kainan. This effect persists until an enemy fighter makes an attack action that targets a friendly Kainan, or until a friendly Kainan is out of action, or until the end of the round.
Yeah.
So essentially, Kanan's like, "Yo, dude, you got to come hit me, or your attacks against the rest of my warband are less accurate."
Yeah.
I kind of like
Uh,
that.
I like this one a lot. Yeah, yeah, this is cool. Um, Particularly in a build where you're being aggressive with the little guys, you might even hide if you have this in your starting hand. Maybe you don't even put Kainan in the front. Maybe you just kind of put him to the side or in the middle, and then they have to dive you.
They have to dive you, and then you can
Yeah,
swarm them and get the Naderite
yeah,
bonuses. Look at that.
yeah.
Um, I also think that you're gonna play this and your opponent's gonna roll a crit on one die and just it's not gonna matter.
It's possible. Yeah.
Because every time I play Buried Instinct, my opponent just rolls it. They'll like roll the dice. I'm like, I react with Buried, and then I see the crit, and I'm like, Instinct. So
That's why you should
it's
only play Bird Instinct if you're trying to stay on an objective. It's not about staying alive.
that's true. That's true. Wise words from the J Man. Well, yeah, this is a cool one. So last card, exceptional efficiency. When you play this card, pick one opponent. That opponent picks one. You gain 2 tithe counters, or in the next activation, you can reroll any number of dice in a friendly Mortek's attack roll.
Yeah. So I think I like this one. I would say maybe at least as much as the other one, Methodical Assault.
Yeah.
Um, honestly they're probably about the same. Being able to try the attack again is pretty similar to being able to reroll them all. So yeah, I like you. If you're playing a Mortek aggro, then you probably take both of these.
Yeah. I also just like it because it incentivizes you to when you go in for attacks because you again I'm always looking at these like from as many approaches as I can, but whether it's an aggressive approach or a hybrid approach, like Kenta or Hakor are going to be there with Kainan doing some damage.
Yeah.
And so if you can give them any rerolls, because it's a 2 smash 2 damage attack, it's not something that you take lightly. Like that's a
Right.
Magor like profile, right?
Right.
Um, it's pretty neat. And so your opponent might be like, well, yeah, okay, fine, you can I'll save my fighter, but I'm just going to make your warband inspired. And the most important thing about that inspire is that Kainan goes to 2 block.
Well, and all the little guys get another damage too. Like I think
That's
it's actually
true.
a pretty big deal. Yeah.
It is a big deal. I guess for me, it's like they're just 2 wounds, so they're going to just die, is my thought process on
Yeah.
it.
I would say that if you're the opponent here, the right choice is to let them reroll all the dice
Correct.
in almost every case.
Yeah.
If you give them the 2 tithe, then they don't even have to charge with the Mortek, which is why this one's probably better than Methodical Assault.
Yeah. Because, like, if you think about it, like, aside from the 2 that we mentioned, Kenta and Hakor, that's a no-brainer because they're doing 1 damage. So you make a very valid point, and I completely agree with you. I'm just saying, like, if I need to score, like, I don't know, a hidden purpose or a temp V or a dominant position or
That's
absolute stillness, I might give you the tithe counter. And I might regret it later,
true.
but I might give you the tithe counter.
Yeah, that's true. It won't always be black and white, I don't think, which is what's so cool about these choose cards. And like we've always liked toxic gases and stuff, and this is like
That's one of my favorite cards.
they have a few of these, and so it's really neat.
Yeah, I think
And
there's 4 of them.
and I like that it's kind of like the to the fluff of this warband and this army, in that like they're telling you they need the tithe, or you can fight them.
Yeah, which have you read the lore behind the Bone Reapers?
Yeah, a little bit, which is
Yeah,
basically what they're doing. Yeah.
they'll literally roll up to a city and be like, "Yeah, we won't attack you, but you got to just give us all the bones in your graveyard, and then we won't attack you for a year." And then they come back a year later and they're like, "All right, well, we need double that amount in 6 days, or we're gonna just kill you." And then eventually they weaken the populace because they eventually end up killing each other to give the bone tithe, and then when you can no longer pay it, they'll just claim you.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
it's so cool, very well thought out. What's a favorite of yours? I think there's a bunch of in here that we both like, but what do you like?
I think Dire Ultimatum might be my favorite one.
It's a good card. It's just it's like a taunt.
Yeah, I love the design space there.
Yeah. I like Methodical Assault.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool stuff.
I want to try Never Yield, but you might be right that it's not the best. It's definitely not as good as Dire Ultimatum, so you probably just take that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really hoping that someone proves us or me wrong at least, because you seem like you're more high on the Mortek side of things.
I guess what I like about it is that once you activate it, if you have the tithe counters, they have to either do 3 damage and cost you, or they basically either have to do 3 damage or not get the kill. And if they do the 3 damage, then you don't care because you're not going to spend the tithe counter anyway. It's just going to go through and kill your fighter. So I don't know. It's really weird. It's a really weird card that I'm not sure it really even works the way that it
This
was
is the
intended to.
Skaman. This is the Spite Claw player in you getting
Yeah,
excited.
that's true.
Uh, but I see your point. I don't
Yeah,
disagree. Um, I do think it's a niche scenario, but I think we
yeah.
digress. I think we're both like, I think you're giving it like above a 50%, where I'm just like right under, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see how that works out. But I look forward to you proving me wrong.
All right, well, I guess we can go to the upgrades then.
Yep.
The first one is the Tithe Stone. It is for Kenta only. Reaction during a friendly Mortek's range 1 or range 2 attack action. Before the attack roll, discard 1 tithe counter. If you do, plus 1 dice to that attack action until it has been resolved. What do you think?
I was furiously blowing my nose on
Oh.
mute. But um yeah, so I really like the basic ability where like if you just happen to be at the, in enemy territory with
Oh, I didn't
Kenta.
even read that. At the end of
Oh.
the action phase, if this fighter is in another player's territory, that player picks one. You gain 1 tithe counter, or that player discards 1 glory point. I didn't even
So
notice that.
yeah, that's the part that's like I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
So like at one point you do get the diminishing returns on the tithe counter,
yeah.
but like if you're at 2, do I think a player will ever give up a glory point to stop you from inspiring? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So I think this is just a free way to get tithe counters. And the really cool thing is that if you're consistently able to get a bunch of tithe counters, then a lot of the other cards in this warband set will work for you very well. Um, so
Yeah.
that's one thing that this is opening up a little bit more to us at least. The reaction is really cool because that +1 dice is pretty neat. And maybe it's the tithe counter you get from the tithe stone that gives you that ability to get that one reroll you need, off Kenta's attack. Honestly, the more and more I'm looking at this warband, I think Kenta is the most important fighter,
Hmm.
because so many things revolve around him, or at least the cool cards. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to use those cool cards, and Kenta just might be, the way that you treat Kikitaka and Starblood Stalkers. He's just another fighter.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that he's opening up so much to where I do find him to be quite interesting from a player perspective.
I agree, and I think the cool thing about this card is you can throw this on in the last power step of the round,
Yeah.
and the opponent won't really be able to stop you, and then maybe this is what ends up inspiring you. I don't know if we really mentioned it, but the inspire is uh, after a power step, which
Mm-hmm,
is kind of
mm-hmm.
interesting. But
So this wouldn't work then because
well,
this
it
would
would
score
work. It wouldn't inspire you till the beginning of the next round.
next round. Yeah.
Yeah,
After the first activation. Yeah.
but I don't think there's anything the opponent can really do to take your tithe counters away. So like it'll happen at some point.
Yeah, that's the one cool thing about the tithe counter is
Yeah.
once you collect the tithe, there's no going back.
Right.
No refunds.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. I think that really the only weakness is that it's restricted to Kenta, and if you're too aggressive with him too early, he may die, and then you're not going to be able to use it.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that's a deal breaker, so to speak.
No.
The next one is Unnerving Synchrony. It's like fighting a machine. Restricted to Mortex. Reaction after an adjacent friendly Mortex attack action, other than a siding attack action, this fighter makes an attack action. So that's pretty cool.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, because you could put it on somebody, make a charge, and then use the ability thing to move the other guy, attack with the first guy, and then react with this. And basically get a double charge, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. The way I'm looking at it is I can like maybe make an attack action, right, with a fighter,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can play like methodical assault or an exceptional efficiency, to maybe re-roll or
Yeah.
make an attack action again, and and then you're like, oh, you know what? No, I'll just give you the tithe counter, and then my follow-up attack action is an inspired fighter, right? So there's just like, and that's just one application for it. So I think there's so many cool ways in which you can use this card. The example that you gave, the example that I gave, or examples that other people can come up with. Because if you're gonna do that Brotech strategy, then I think this is a really really good card. And even outside of that Brotech strategy, like I'm considering just taking this card in general because more attacks means more tithes, which means faster inspire and more glory. I think.
Yeah, the timing on this is interesting. I think you do have to choose between the methodical assault and this one, but if they let you do the attack, then you can attack after that one.
That
Um,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If they give you
yeah.
the tithe, I think it shuts it all down, but then you have the tithe, so who cares? So that's cool. Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I was saying that you get the tithe and maybe make so it's cool. I'm glad you clarified
yeah.
that they're both in the same reaction window, but I think either way there's a lot of winning going around, right?
Yeah, it's. I think it's a very, very good card. And if you're using the other Mortek to give you support, this could potentially be like a 3 damage attack and then a 3 damage attack or something. So, um, it's. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't say what kind of attack it has to be, so you could have weapons or whatever else. So pretty cool. The next one is Unstoppable Juggernaut, restricted to Mortek, +1 move and +1 wounds.
I dig it.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I am mad.
I guess I think this might be good enough that you take it, even though you can't put it on the leader. What do you
I
think?
think you slap this on Kenta.
Yeah.
He goes to 4 wounds, 4 move. That's a pretty nice threat range. If
Yeah.
Kenta goes down early, you stick it on Hakor, or any of the other fighters. I think it's pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah. It's not bad. Um, the next one is Witchlight Glimmer. This fighter is inspired and cannot be uninspired. You can reroll 1 dice in this fighter's attack rolls, restricted to a Mortek. What do you think?
I I like it. Put it on Kenta.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I'm trying to think who gets the most out of their inspired side.
It
It
might
might
be
actually
either
be,
Karu or Senna.
yeah, it might actually be Senda or Senna, yeah, because they all go to 2 damage, but he gets the
It's
two
actually
block.
Karu because he gets knockback 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I think that's
Knockback 1
better
is
or
better
not.
than one.
Yeah,
It's 2 Smash versus 3 Fury.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty similar. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure this one makes the cut, but it's not awful. I just wonder with like augmented limbs and strength of terror and things, um, if you really need it. But
Yeah,
good
the interesting
option to
thing.
have.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely correct because as we mentioned earlier, the only thing Kenta gets is cleave.
Right.
So yeah, maybe it's not a good one. Yeah,
I mean, a reroll is always nice, and particularly so when you're fishing for supports and stuff. So
yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I just think that maybe universally there'll be better options. Um, the next one is Disciplined Charge, also restricted to a Mortek. You can reroll any number of dice in this fighter's attack rolls during this fighter's charge action. This might be better than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's just so much investment in these Mortex, but they're just
Right.
so bad individually that it's like man, it's weird, man. Because like the more and more I'm reading, and because I was very busy at work today, so I didn't really like. This is kind of my
Yeah.
first glance at these cards, and it's like, man, like this is really cool, and I'm really liking this strategy, but I'm also like, this is a giant trap. You know how like there's trap cards in certain warbands?
Yeah.
I think this warband is a trap.
So you
You
don't
know,
think that the Mortek, you don't think like an aggro Mortek build is going to work?
no, if there were 3 wounds, yeah, but they just
Hmm.
if you're trying to aggro into me, and I'm playing even Magors, hell, even Ravagers,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill your Mortex.
Yeah.
I've got 3 fighters that are doing at least 2 damage with Kagra, not Kagra. What's her sister? Zarshia, doing 2 damage when she inspires. I mean, it's
Yeah, but I think you have things like punching up. I think you have things like, weapons and damage. to give them, and then you have ways to like disincentivize attacking, like the what was the ploy, dire ultimatum and things like that. So I don't know. I'm wondering if and they're also harder to kill than a lot of the other two help things, like Grimwatch. So I don't know. You might be right though.
I mean, if you look at my this is my one point that I'm gonna make because I don't disagree with you. I think the overarching theme here is like I think you're right, but I'm right at the same time. But
Yeah.
like I don't think we're wrong, and I'll tell you why. The one dodge or the one block is good, but like how often are you saving Hawachi or Talk when you play Starbud Stalkers?
Yeah, I mean it's not a lot more often.
Right, and that's just my one thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I this is just my gut feeling. It could be wrong.
So I
I think
don't
it's a
think you
trap.
are. I think what I'm just not sure of yet, and I think we're just gonna have to play them and find out, is the leader is so strong just by himself that I wonder how good these guys need to be. So if you play them aggro and then he's also there, like beating people up, is that enough? I don't think these guys, pound for pound, are going to beat out like an aggro gets. But if aggro gets also have this Kenta or this Kainan guy, maybe that's enough. So I don't know. It's interesting. They don't. It doesn't strike me as the way I would play them off the bat, but some of these are pretty decent cards. So um, I'm not sure yet.
I think they're really good cards for what they do, but then when you see who they're restricted to, I think you second guess yourself. I'm no way insulting the Warband. I just really think that
Yeah.
like this is a great card. Oh, I can only use it on four
Well,
fighters or five fighters, and yeah, that's most of the Warband. But then they're all doing 1 to 2 damage.
and I guess the interesting question is if you decide not to do this strategy at all and you just take cards that'll work with the leader, then is the leader going to be able to carry the whole warband? Because he's not as good as Molig is at carrying a whole warband, and
But
he's probably not as good as Rothkorn at carrying a
but
whole warband.
unlike Hrothgorn and
Yeah.
and Malog, his supporting cast can hold the objectives reliably enough.
Right. And I think that if it does work and you basically ignore the Mortex and play aggro with the leader and then try to hold objectives, I guess that would be what you did. Um, I just wonder how good that'll be because in that if that's the way to play them, then does your opponent just throw everything at the leader in the first round and then hopefully kill him and then wipe everybody else out because then they know you probably don't have the tools for it.
But
I'm
like,
not
imagine
sure.
the same way you would play Malog or Hrothgorn. You're not gonna just like YOLO yeet your leader into the enemy territory, right? You're gonna wait until the third or fourth
Yeah, that's
round
true.
activation. So like, there's just so many different ways in which I think it can go about it. I think it's
Yeah.
really awesome that we're both on two different sides of the fence because we're both seeing something the other person isn't, and I love that. Um,
Yeah.
and I ultimately think we'll find a medium, but like, because I do agree that the Mortex have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
I guess
just
I'm just wondering, similar to Hrothgorn, I wonder how much you're actually going to be able to get out of the leader because he doesn't have the range three. I don't think these guys are going to have as much passive glory from like objective removal or card draw sort of scoring. So I feel like you're going to have to be doing something. And maybe that thing is holding objectives. Um, but they also don't really have that many tools for that. So they wouldn't be better at that than a lot of other people. So it's an interesting style so far.
I also
Um,
think that because they're the seventh warband out of the season, there are so many cards in the universal pool that you can
yeah,
take like four distraction, three different side steps, swarming advance, other
yeah,
cards that can just get you onto objectives pretty easily. Swarming advance
yeah,
is also a card just for their aggressive side as well. So, um,
yeah. I agree.
so I think I don't know. I think we can both say that I see where you're coming from, and move on.
Okay, the next one is Empowered Nadrite. +1 damage to this fighter's range 1 and range 2 Nadrite attack actions. +1 dice to this fighter's Nadrite attack actions. So it doesn't work for Akbar because he's just not using Nadrite, but it's restricted to the other four.
It's a good card.
Yeah, I think it is. It also doesn't really work for Nohim that well. He can get the +1 dice, but he doesn't get the +1 damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is. I mean, this to me, this is another just pretty good ability. So
Yeah. Slap it on Kenta.
the only downside is it doesn't work on the leader. But I don't know if I'm just not sure. I think maybe you just
I
take a bunch of health and then some of these cards.
I think being able to like mini Voltron up like a second or third back up to Kainan and Hakor and Kenta is really cool.
Yeah.
That's where I can see you taking some of these cards, because like this can make Senna like 4 Fury, 3 damage is pretty nuts, you know.
Right.
And then he can, if you manage to line up that support ability, he's probably going to get a support.
Yeah. Yeah. The +1 dice is really nice for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it.
The next one is Hatred of the Living. You can reroll 1 attack dice, and this fighter's attack action rolls for range 1 and range 2 attack actions. Restricted to Kainan, and it has a reaction. During an attack action that targets this fighter before the deal damage step, reduce the damage characteristic of that attack action by 1 to a minimum of 1, and then discard this card. Wow.
This is gross.
Yeah.
This is like Foul Temper, but better. Like a built-in, what's that Rippus card?
Yeah. Narrow Escape.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I can just hear Mike just chuckling in his room.
So the interesting thing about this one though is that you are telegraphing it. So like your opponent can just get around it. So it's effectively like a Potion of Constitution. But it gives you a reroll. So great.
I will say I think Acidic Strike is looking better and better every day.
That's interesting. Is that one? What's the timing on that one? You have to hit them and then after?
Acidic Strike is that's a good point. So it's right here. After a successful attack action.
Yeah. So they'd still get to reduce it.
Oh yeah. Boo.
But you could hit them with like 1 damage and then take it away. So
yeah, because it doesn't say like a range limit, so you could like poke them with a range attack.
Right. Yeah.
And no, the thing is, you take away the reroll. That's all I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good card. It's like two pretty good cards. It's one really good card and another pretty good card together. So why not?
It's a very good card.
The next one is Horrifying Soul Traps for Kainan as well. Reaction: after this fighter's activation, in which this fighter's range 1 or range 2 attack action takes an enemy fighter out of action, choose 1 enemy fighter and push the chosen fighter 1 hex away from this fighter.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like a gauntlet of domination?
Dominance, yeah.
Yeah, dominance.
You have to get a kill though, which makes it a little bit harder. Which probably means it's more balanced. Choose 1 enemy fighter. Yeah, it's pretty good, honestly. It's a good card.
Yeah, particularly against like an objective holding style.
The only thing I don't like about it is its push away.
Yeah, be nice.
I'd like to maybe bring them closer to you, so you can continue to reap their souls.
But then it would have to be like a delicious soul trap or something. Not a horrifying.
I mean, it's still horrifying. If there's something that's bringing me closer to that thing on the battlefield, I am horrified.
Fair enough. The next one is Aura of Shaish. -1 dice from adjacent enemy fighters' attack actions to a minimum of 1.
Is good.
That is good. A little bit situational, depending on how much range 2 there is in your meta, but pretty good against crushes. So
I mean, I think this card is in creepers, and I take it with them. Paul of Fear, like it's just so good on Drapur.
I think theirs is against everything now, isn't it?
That's true.
I think theirs is better.
Yeah, theirs much better. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is adjacent fighters, right? Yeah. Okay, it's not as it's okay. It's still good, but it's not that good. I do think he looks like a Dragon Ball Z villain there, though. With the color palette and the way there's glowing and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if we really need to even talk about this last one. Artificer's Blade. This fighter's range 1 and range 2 attack actions have cleave. It's not for me.
That's it. Well, that's it, folks. Jonathan said no.
No thanks.
Jonathan cleaves cleave. Fun fact.
Yep. I don't even see
Um,
it.
doesn't even see it.
This card doesn't do anything for me.
That's really funny, but
No,
it's a terrible card.
it's not good. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I think it's funny. We went through the upgrades the fastest, but I think they're the coolest set of cards. Um, maybe the choose ones are better, but are more interesting. But I like these. What's your favorite?
um, I think I like the empowered Nadrite quite a bit.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
I do like that it gives you like it's just a lot of stats on a card.
Yeah,
Um, I think Hatred of the Living is obviously really good, but those are probably the two. I don't know. I like Discipline Charge too. So
just pick them all. Jeez.
yeah, I'm just gonna pick them all.
If you're gonna pick those three, then I'll pick. I like Unstoppable Juggernaut. Honestly, I think it's a really good card to like buff up one of your Mortex.
Yeah,
Um, and then I like Tithe, just because like it's so cool.
yeah. If you get Unstoppable Juggernaut and Empowered Nadrite on uh, what Kenta, that's pretty good.
He's a monster.
Yeah,
He's a mini Kainan.
yeah,
4 wounds, 3 damage, 3 dice, range 2, 4 move. It's pretty neat.
yeah.
With the propensity to go even higher off supports, it's pretty damn neat. I
Yeah,
like
I'm
it.
excited to build some decks for this warband because I think that you can play them a few different ways, and I'm not really sure what the best way is yet.
Yeah, I'm actually really, really confused because at first I was like, yo, no more techs. Like, Kainan all the way, hold objectives, and Kenta, Kainan, and Hakor kind of go in and do all the heavy lifting. And that's
Yeah,
still something I'm going to try. But I'm not going to lie to you. I might be a bit of a bro tech now.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think you're just gonna have to see how many tools can you like if you build a Kanan focused deck. Once he charges once, like you lose a lot of power, and then if he dies or if he gets hit by one of the three nets in the game right now, like the amount of things that you're doing in the game for that round are going to be severely diminished. So that makes me want to take something in there to support the little guys so that I don't so that I can use the leader as like a like a power play, but not have to rely on him or feel like I'm completely shut down if he gets shut down or dies or something.
Right.
So that makes me want to use the little guys, and some of these cards have a lot of value in them, but they're restricted to the Mortex. So it's pretty curious. It's interesting how it's like they gave us a really, really powerful fighter, and then they sort of are forcing us to focus on the other ones if we want to use the warband cards.
Which is important because I feel
Yeah.
like you do need to use the warband cards. I don't think I've ever seen a warband successful only using universals. I mean, maybe at one point Wormspat, or maybe Wormspat always, but um, aside from
Yeah.
them,
Usually
very
you have to be
rarely.
pretty overstated to be able to get away with not not using your warband cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting, man, because like there's so many ways you can play them. You can play Lost Pages, you can
Yeah.
play aggro, you can play hold objective, you can do a hybrid of any of the three.
Well, that's
I
what's
mean,
interesting about the lost pages. In that kind of build, you probably want to go aggro with the bros.
yeah, you just kind of YOLO charge in with
Yeah.
all these really good cards, and then you get to Kainan, and he's like, Hatred of the Living, 6
Yeah.
wounds, great strength or great fortitude. What's up? Um,
Yeah.
it's
Like he
interesting.
may sort of be a big leader from the back, and then he'll chart. Maybe he charges in, or he's just stays in the middle, and if you charge the little guys, then he gets you, and uses commanding stride to smack people around, and um,
The one,
it's interesting.
I can, yeah, the one thing I like about this is like I can see this in like everyone in our little like practice group, like finding something that they like.
Yeah.
Like the guys who like aggro, the guys who want to like do cool things, but not necessarily, like try cool things. The guys who want to sit in the back and turtle and control. the guys who love big boys. Like there is so much this war, but like the guys who like to hold objectives and girls. Like there's just so much things that there's just no girls in our group, but I don't know, not yet. Um,
Sure.
we would love for. Okay, I'm just gonna stop before I dig myself in a hole. What I'm saying is
There's
there's just
something for
this war
everyone.
that really we are an equality podcast. So yes, there's something for everyone here, and we want everyone to have fun. So
Yeah. I do think I think you're right. This does seem like a very flexible warband. Um, it's almost like they don't have. I don't know. It's not that they don't have strengths, but they kind of have a few weaknesses. Like it's not actually going to be that hard to get some kills against this warband, whereas sometimes it can be hard to get kills against Mollog or Hrothgorn. Um, but also, if the leader dies, I don't think you're completely like out of the game in the same way that you are if Mollog or Hrothgorn dies.
if you tech into the Mortex,
Yeah, but even if you are playing like a super Kainan kind of build, I still think you're going to have some objective holding end phase cards and probably like hidden purpose and things like that. So I like because I'm not sure what your objective deck would be otherwise. Like it'll probably be like kill somebody with your leader, um, maybe kill somebody with a wizard. What's the martial mage one?
yeah, that's exactly
Um,
it. Kill
I
someone
forget if
with a
that one's
wizard.
range 2 or not. Is that
Because you could
just
do
range
like a
1?
savage exemplar, a martial mage,
Yeah,
and just a bunch of cards that allow you to just score for Kanan
yeah,
getting kills, which is cool. Um,
some
I
primacy
think there is
stuff.
a yeah, for sure. Surge of aggression, all that. I do
Yeah,
like that. I do like that you can. So there's a difference, right? Like if you're gonna play aggressive, you probably don't take like dominant position or like absolute stillness or cryptic companion.
right.
But like what I'm thinking is I'm gonna play this like I play my lizard men, but like Kanan is my better Clackrock.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think you could do like a dominant position, absolute stillness, the new one for quarries, and you could make like a
Lion weight.
yeah line weight, and things like that. You hold objectives with the little guys, and then Kane is just your beat stick, and then you have some stuff for him like commanding stride and strength of terror and whatever else. Um, and I think that works. I think that'll work pretty good. It's the other style that I'm not as sure about, where you're just kind of going aggro with everybody. But we'll see. I mean, it might work. Maybe you take pure carnage and just like go for it. You know?
I forgot about pure carnage.
Yeah.
But
Pure
at that
carnage
point, you just
punching
play
out.
Godsworn, right?
Yeah,
I guess the
Godsworn
impetus,
gets, but you have
but
a
the
4 damage monster
yeah,
or
I guess
three
that's what I'm
damage
saying is
monster.
the impetus is that you have Kanan.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what's cool about this warband. Is like you have a bunch of little guys if you want to throw at people, and then like you're kind of playing both the big boy game and the horde game at the same time.
well, I like how you have the strengths and weaknesses of both as well.
Yeah.
Like if I farm your Mortex,
That's a lot of glory.
it's a lot of glory.
You're gonna give it primacy a lot.
Because the interesting thing is, dude, we have 3 nets in the game.
Yeah.
We have energy drain. We have
Hmm.
autopodal. Like there's so many ways in which you can slap move and charge tokens.
Right.
You can effectively shut down Kanan. Like if Kanan becomes meta and Hrothgorn stays meta and
Yeah.
Mollog, then you can effectively create a list where you shut down the big fighters, farm the little fighters, and that's the game. So maybe
Yeah.
it might behoove you to tack into the Mortex so that regardless of who you're up against, you've got damage across the board, fighters that can do damage. The 3 move is slow, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
A Kanan feels it the least. Maybe Kenta equally feels it the least, and Noam. So yeah, you have 3 fighters who are ranged 2 and 3, but Karu, Senna, and Hakor are going to be your slow ones. But I don't know. Maybe you have swarming advance. So
Yeah, I think you can take pushes to make it less of a problem. And then, like, if I'm thinking about some of the other warbands that I think are pretty good right now, like Grimwatch or Git, things like that, I think this warband does really well. And most of these little fighters can go, toe to toe with the Grimwatch and the gets fighters and things like that. I think we might hyper focus on crushes because they might be the very best, but I think there's a Grimwatch build that just nets them over and over again, and then slows them down enough and outscores them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think these guys are really interesting. So this might be the warband that I'm the most curious to see like how it shakes out. Like what does the community decide is the best way to play them?
Yeah. I am very interested to see how they perform. I am wary of Kanan's ability. I think I am firmly in the camp where I am concerned with the ability that big boys can have in this game.
Yeah.
Um, that is my concern first and foremost. I do think that aside from what is it, the unbridled will, or what's it called? Hatred of the living,
Oh yeah.
which is effectively two cards in one. Um, there
Yeah.
isn't much else that you can give him factionally. Um, and
Right.
so that's interesting. I do so that it's something to think about. But there is a universal pool out there with a lot of good cards.
Yeah, there's a lot of good, cards for heals and ways to keep him around if you need to. But
Yeah,
I think that it's going to be similar to, I mean, even if you play him exactly like people are playing like an aggro Hrothgorn, where like you're pretty sure you're just not going to be able to kill him because he's going to heal up and stuff. Unlike Hrothgorn, it's going to be a lot harder to keep these um, other five fighters alive. Even just one more fighter difference. They're all easier to kill than the cat is in Hrothgorn. So um, I think that makes a sizable difference. So I also think it's going to take him longer to inspire, and that might mean that you actually can kill him. And even if he does have the Potion of Constitution card and the -1 dice card, which maybe you take both of those, that's still not going to be as good as Tough and Hide for Hrothgorn. So I think he's
yeah,
much
but
more
like
killable.
it's the same issue with like ferocious resistance,
Yeah,
spirit comb, healing potion,
right.
and
Yeah,
then
that's true.
the one recycled riches or whatever it's called, where you can discard a
But
card and
but if you know that that's how the enemy is playing it, then you just ignore him and you get five other kills by killing the rest of the warband, and then hopefully that's good enough. And if he has
yeah,
to rely on some end phase objective holding stuff, maybe that's what you need to do anyway. So I don't know. It's an interesting warband. It's not really like anything that we've seen before, which is refreshing after what are we at, like 35 warbands? So
which is awesome because
yeah,
that's Direcasm. It's been the best season so far. So,
yeah.
um, okay, well, I think that does it for Kanan's Reapers. I don't have anything else to add. Just a reminder that there is a contest for this warband. So if you are interested in winning a free copy of Kanan's Reapers expansion box set, come up with 4 lines. Ossiarch Bone Reaper Freestyle. Instead
Yeah,
of
we
OBR, it's OBF.
we want a bone bro rap.
We want, yeah, we don't mind if it's humorous.
Sure.
Do you get it? Like the bone?
Oh, we're
That's a
not. This is
pun
not
for you.
another pun episode. It's not.
Bang, bang, baby.
Not.
I'm actually going to give a shout out to one of our patrons, Rowan Boats. I just read that. So shout out to Rowan. I didn't really come prepared for any puns today.
Thank goodness.
Um, aside from you and Davey, everyone else loved them, but
I'm sure they did.
Davey and you did not like my puns.
Filthy animals.
Okay, well, yeah. So come up with just come up with a couple bars for the Bone Bros. Bonus points for anyone who uses the phrase bro tech, because that's been coined officially as the way that we will name that strategy moving forward, the bro tech strategy.
Cool.
But that's all.
Yep, we'll have our episode on the universals out soon, and I guess at this point we need the universals to settle. We need to figure out how to actually build a deck with all these new cards, and then we'll do some end phase episodes. So keep an eye out for
Yeah,
that, patrons as well.
absolutely. And for those of you who are experimenting with Warband, have a rattling good time.
All right. Once again, thank you to our patron supporters. If you'd like to join our current patrons, you can do so at patreon.com/path to glory. You can find all of our blog content on pathtoglorypodcast.com. If you have any feedback, questions, or comments, let us know on Facebook, Twitter, or Discord at Path to Glory Podcast. Please rate and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. As always, thanks for listening, and we wish you the best of luck on your path to glory.
This warband is literally made up of boneheads.